Hey guys, it's Mr. Riz, and in this video here, we're going to go over the Algebra II Preassessment. So you guys can follow along with me if you want. Our goal is to go through this, see if you guys have any questions, or just explain each problem, and have you guys get a better score, because this is actually a score. It will be graded. So let me go ahead and screen share this here right now. Okay, so you don't want to see that. We got this Algebra II Preassessment. Now you guys have already taken it, you got your score. I'm going to use that to help me understand later on, like what sections do we need to go over? Also, what sections can we skip, because you guys know, but I'm just going to click preview here. You guys will click take the quiz again, and I'm going to go through and answer these problems here. So if I can, I'm going to kind of cheat. I am watching the Jackets game right now. Hopefully they win. But I'm going to put up Desmos here just to help me out, desmos.com. And I'm going to make sure right now that my screen is on both of those. There we go. Okay. So a lot of these things here we can just type in. If you didn't know, let's see if I can do this in my head. It's been a summer, let's practice it. So PEMDAS, start in the middle here. So that's 2. 2 squared is 4. Then we're going to go through and we'll divide. 36 divided by 4 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 plus 7 is 34, plus 4 is 38, I would assume. All right, let's see how well I do on this. All right, evaluate the expressions. We got a crazy expression here, but we're going to plug in 0 for x. That means that goes away, and plug in 3/5 for y. So hopefully it is a minus. So 3/5 of times 5 would cancel out. So that's 3 minus 14 is negative 11. That is B. So for this problem here, we just plug those both into the expression. Right here, simplify the expression. So we need to FOIL it. I'm going to take my annotating out, practice my skills here on Zoom. So we got to distribute here. We're supposed to get drawing tablets, so this will become easier. So we get 1 plus 4 times 2x is 8x. Oh, can't wait for us to get these stylus here. Minus 4 times 3 is 12. Minus x. Lovely handwriting here. All right, we got to combine like terms. Looks like they're starting with x's first. So 8 minus x, 8x minus x is 7x. And then 1 minus 12 is negative 11. So that would be D. Better clear this. All right, next, combining like terms. So let's see if I can draw on this. So next, we're going to keep drawing here. Let's combine like terms. Look at our x squareds. We got 7x squared, and we got a negative 5x squared. That'd be 2x squared. Well, that eliminates some of the problem. Cross off, cross off. Well, let's look at the x's next. 4 and 1 would make 5. That answer would be, boom, A. All right, next question here. What is f of negative 1? Well, if f of x is this function here, what we're going to do is plug negative 1 into each one of those. So I am going to draw a little bit, but I'm going to do some math in my head. So I'm going to plug negative 1 where I see x's. And there we go. All right, so if I plug negative 1 and square it, negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Positive 1 times negative 3 is a negative 3. All right, next we'll plug negative 1 into the 2x, that would become negative 2. And then we have a minus 5, I believe. So we got negative 3 minus 2 minus 5 would be, boom, negative 10. B. All right, next, solve the equation for x. So what we want to do first is to work backwards. Hopefully by now in Algebra 2, after a year of algebra and a year of geometry, you know how to work backwards. So first thing we want to do in this multi-step equation is to subtract 7. So we still have x divided by 3 equals, now if I subtract 7 from negative 5, that'd be negative 12. And then do the opposite. Opposite of divide by 3 is to times by 3. X equals negative 36. So hopefully we have been moving and grooving here, and getting these questions right. Clear all my drawings. Okay, next, solve the equation for x. Okay, so this one's a little bit more complicated, a couple more steps. When we have parentheses, we got to get rid of them. Let's distribute this here. What question was that one? All right, so we got 5x minus 10 after we distribute. The 2 times the 5 is 10, plus 12 plus 4 times x is 4x. Oh, can't wait to get these stylus here, equals 20. We are on board. Okay, add the x's together. We got 9x. Negative 10 plus 12 is a positive 2 equals 20. Okay, so then in the next step, let's get rid of this plus 2 by subtracting 2 from the other side. So we get 9x equals 18. Divide by 9. That is a positive 2. All right, clear all my drawings. Okay, next one here. Okay, so this is to remember everything going on here and what goes on with the symbols. So hopefully you guys can see is that when we subtract 6 over from that, we get negative 15, which every dot is at negative 15. We just have to remember which way the symbols go. One thing to notice here is that the line is underneath it, so that's less than or equal to. So that means it's going to be a solid dot, so we can cross off C and A. It's going to be a solid dot. And if we want it less than, it's going to point left. So answer would be B. Okay, next, just solving this equation here. So first thing we're going to do is get rid of the 5. Even though the minus sign is here, we get rid of the number without the x first. So we're going to subtract the 5 over. We get negative 3x is less than 15. We're going to divide by negative 3. Now we get x. That's going to be negative 5. When you divide by a negative, it is one of the rules that does switch the operation symbol from a less than to a greater than. So the answer would be B on this problem here. So far we're doing great. We haven't had to use Desmos, but it will pop up later. All right, 9 questions done. A couple more to go. 30. Okay. Next, we have an absolute value problem. So with the absolute value problem, it makes 2 equations. One equation is just going to be like it is. 3x minus 2 equals 7. The other equation is going to be 3x minus 2 equals negative 7. Because remember, an absolute value can be positive or negative, and it still equal the same value. So if we want to solve the first one, we're going to add 2 over, so we get 3x equals 9. Then divide by 3, and we get x equals 3. On the other side, we're going to do the same steps, but since it's a negative 7, we'll get a negative 5. And when we divide by 3, it doesn't come out nice, so we'll leave it as a fraction, negative 5/3. So there's our 2 answers. Those should be the 2 things that we see in answer C. All right, next, which statement is true about the characteristics of the 3 lines in the graph? If we look at all the graph, it looks like these 3 lines are going in the same direction. So they have the same equation? No, that would mean they are right on top of each other. They have the same slope? They sure do. Same x-intercept? No, this crosses there at negative 3. That's at 0. That's a positive 3. Same y-intercept? No, same thing. So the answer would be B. They have the same slope. They are parallel lines. Next question. Calculate the slope of the line that passes through the points -4, 7, and 1, -7. So if we remember, our slope form is rise over run, or y's over x's. Y minus y over x minus x. Now we have to go in the same order, so I'll go -7 minus -7 over -4 minus 1. So we would get on the top, that would be 0 on the top, over -5 Now it's okay to have 0 on the top. If we had 0 on the bottom, it would be undefined, but 0 divided by -5 is 0. So the answer is B again. We've been having a lot of B's. All right, determine the line or the slope of the line. Now, slope is rise over run. So we can just count the rise over the run. So I can definitely see its point there. And the next point that I see solid there. So I'm just going to count rise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes up 5. And then to the right is a positive direction. 1, 2, 5 over 2. So that would be B. B again. All right, which describes the relationship between the two lines. So if we remember equations of lines, if they start out y equals, that is what's called slope-intercept form, where y equals mx plus b. Now, the only number that we want to worry about here with the relationship is the m, is the slope. So we got 2 and 1/2. What we could do is graph these. So maybe now is the time where we go ahead and look, okay, what's y equals 2x minus 3, and then we look at y equals 1/2 x plus 3. All right, so if we look at just the graph, we see those lines are not parallel, they're not perpendicular. They do intersect, but if we look at the slopes, for them to be perpendicular, they have to be opposite reciprocals, meaning one would have to be negative and the other one is positive. So it's neither. The answer would be C. All right. Next, use the graph. What is the equation of the line of the graph? Okay, so this equation, we need to know two things in y equals mx plus b. We need to know whether the slope is, and if we look at the slope, it goes down 1 over 3. So that means we could go ahead and cancel out C and D. And then we got to look at the y-intercept, the plus b number. And this y-intercept looks to be at 1. That would be A. All right, write the equation in slope-intercept form. So this is in point-slope form. To get it to slope-intercept form, we're going to have to distribute here. So we get y plus 5 equals, all right, once we distribute, we get 1/3 x minus 3. Okay, so we still got to get this y by itself, so we're going to have to minus the 5 from the -3, which would be -8. I know we're going through this real quick, but this is just review. We will hit on some of these concepts again, so I know we're halfway through this, so if you just kind of wanted to pop in to see how it's going, it's fine. You can always skip the video to find something that you like. Answer would be B. All right, halfway through, let's keep it going. All right, what is the equation that has the slope of -2/7 and contains the point 5, -6? So we're going to use y equals mx plus b again. All right, we're going to use everything here. We need to find the m and the b. We already know the m is right there at -2/7. To find the b, we're going to go ahead and plug these in. Oh. In fact, no, we don't need to do this. This is all in point slope. Point slope is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is an equation that we might skip this year, depending on how everything with COVID goes. It's not an equation that's used too much in math. It's more of a science equation. And so this is math class. We'll probably stick to the math. So we got y minus the y1 is -6, so we're going to change that to a plus 6, equals m is -2/7, which they all have, x minus 5 is x. So this answer would have been A. You could have typed those into Desmos and just see if those ones all worked out. All right, clear the drawings again. Okay. If we want to divide 7 over x plus 2 by x minus 2 over 14, you can multiply 7 over x plus b. Which of the following? So dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by a reciprocal. It's one of those things you probably hear and say a million times when you're in the math classroom. It's one of those things when you leave the room, it goes out of your brain. So we just need to flip the fraction. So if we flip x minus 2 over 14, it should be d, 14 over x minus 2. All right, scientific notation, all we need to do is count how far we move it over. So everything is 3.5. How far to the left do I move this 3.75 over? I move it over 1, 2, 3 spots to the left. So it's negative direction. So that one would be A. All right. Next, if z to the t power times z to the 5th is z to the 15th, what is the value of t? So PP man, if we have a power to a power, we multiply, but if we have powers multiplying, we add. So we have to think here, okay, if I'm going to add this number to 5 to get 15, what number would it have to be? That would be 10. Z to the 10th times z to the 5th. At 10 and 5, we'd add together to make 15. All right, 20 done. Here we go. Let's keep it going. Next, let's go through and figure this out. So first thing we got to do is square this. So we'll leave the a cubed, b to the 4th. Geez, these numbers looking great here. C to the 6th alone. And then we're going to go ahead and square these numbers. So big number 4, we actually square is 16. But the little numbers, the exponents, we're just going to times by 2. So a to the 1st becomes a squared. C cubed, we're going to multiply that by 2, be c to the 6th. Okay, next, we're going to go ahead and multiply these together, but technically we're going to add the exponents. 16 is a constant number, so that stays alone since there's no other 16 here. Let's start adding the letters. So we got a cubed, a squared, add them together, 3 plus 2 is 5. B's, there's just b to the 4th on the one side, so there's just b to the 4th total here. And then c, we got c to the 6th, c to the 6th, add them together, 6 plus 6 is 12. So 16, a to the 5th, b to the 4th, c to the 12th, be a. All right, evaluate the expression. Okay, this one's nice. This one we could actually just type into Desmos. So we got 3 to the 0, anything to the 0 power will tell you is 1. That's what it says right here. And then we're going to times that by 3 to the negative 2nd power. All right, so we get, oh, my lights went out. 0.11111, so it's a decimal of which decimal it is. If you guys didn't know, on Desmos, if you click that button there, it will change it from a decimal to a fraction. So that one will be C, 1/9. All right, estimate. Okay, which one is this one true? Well, we can just type it in. If we want to get the square root button on Desmos, we have to pull up a little keyboard here. 75, 8.666, so that is in between 8 and 9. It's actually closer to 9. Now, the way you wouldn't have to do that, you'd have to know your squared numbers. So your 2, we'll actually start, let's start at 1. 1, 4, 9, keep it going, 16, 25, 36, 49. All right, so keep it going, 64 and 81. 75 is in between 64 and 81. It's closer to 81 than it is 64. So that's why it's closer to 9 than it is C. All right, simplify this. Okay, breaking out of jail. We'll spend more time on this because we'll have complicated ones and we won't just have square roots, but square root of 45. This is how I simplify an expression. I think, what two numbers can I multiply to get 45? 9 and 5 are the first ones I think of. And can I break those down? Yeah, 9 I can break down to 3 and 3. 3 and a 3. So I'm going to cross off the ones I've broken down. All right, so if we look to break out of jail, you need a partner. So this 3 can break out if that guy can go away. 5 does not have a partner, so he stays inside. So 3 is outside. The 5 is inside on his own. So that one would be D. Couple more problems. Here we go. Next, multiply the binomial. So this is foiling, first outer, inner, last. So we'll start off with the first, 4x times 3x, 12x squared. Then we'll do the outers, 4x times 2, 8x. Then do the inners. Negative 5 times 3x is negative 15x. Negative 5 times negative 2 is negative 10x, or negative 10, not negative 10x. We'll combine the middle part there. So we'd have 12x squared, which they all have. 8x minus 15x is a negative 7 minus 12. So that one would be C. All right, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. All right, here's one that a lot of people make a mistake on. This is very common. I completely remember making this mistake at the beginning of Algebra 2, and I felt so silly about the mistake that it just burnt a hole in my head. Whenever we see this square, we're not going to square that number and square that one and call it a day. When you square, red flag, something goes off in your head, write it out twice and FOIL it. So it should be 5x minus 6 times 5x minus 6. That's the same thing as squaring, multiplying it by itself. Because when you see it like this, you know to FOIL it. 5x times 5x is 25x squared, which they all have. In the middle now, we're going to have a 5x times negative 6 is a negative 30x. In the middle here, we're going to get another negative 30x. And at the end, we'll have negative 6 times 6 is a positive 36. So we will have a 25x squared. We will have a positive 36. But in the middle, oh, I actually crossed that. I should have crossed that one out. In the middle, we will have a negative 60 when we combine these two together. So that one would be D. All right, which one's the quadratic formula? Sing the song with me now. X equals negative B. All right, well, that's those two, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, that answer is C. 15% of what number is 9? Well, make an equation out of the story problem here. So 15% of what number? So 0.15 times x is 9, equals 9. So if we want to go ahead and solve this, we need to take 9 and divide it by 0.15. So that would be 60. 15% of 60 is 9. It makes sense when you say it that way. All right, which equation has the roots of negative 3 and positive 5? Now the roots solve each factor. So if we look through here, which one would solve the factor, meaning solving it makes it equal to 0. So if I plug negative 3 into x minus 3, that doesn't equal 0. But if I plug negative 3 into x plus 3, that is 0. If I take the other one, 5, and plug it into x minus 5, that would work. So our roots are what make each factor equal 0. All right, next, factoring. Here we go. These are the fun things. Well, what you could have done is taken each question and FOILed it out. But let's just review factoring. We will spend multiple days reviewing factoring, so I will go through this pretty quick. Once again, I'm hopefully seeing as we go through this in class how well you know this. So the way I factored, if there's a number in front, we're going to multiply. So I'm going to think what two numbers multiplied together to give me the outside product, 20. Those two same numbers add together on the inside to give me negative 9. So it's been a summer break, a long summer break. I'm going to try to think what two numbers multiplied together to get positive 20, add together to get negative 9. That'd be negative 4, and that would be negative 5. Negative 4, negative 5. So the way we're going to set up this problem is we would have a x minus 4 and an x minus 5, but we did have a 2 in front, and you have to remember anytime we have that special number in front, we need to divide our answers by that special number. So I'm going to divide by 2. So this is when we do the simplify or slide. So we see, does 4 divide by 2? 4 does divide by 2. That would be 2. Does 5 divide by 2? No, it doesn't. So we slide it out in front. So that becomes not 8x minus 5 over 2, but a 2x minus 5. All right, and we see which answer matches ours. Close enough. Actually, I use x's instead of p's. Common mistake I will do, but that one would be A. That does have the 2x minus 5 and the x minus 2. All right, 2 more questions to go. Here we go. Let's clear this off. We're almost there. Simplify the radical expression. This one is tough. This one wasn't expecting you guys to get. Seeing if you could remember this, and I'd be surprised. So to simplify the radical expression, what we need to do is factor out common terms. The top, we can factor out a 2, which would make this a x plus 2. Bottom is a perfect square trinomial, which means we can factor this to an x plus 2, x minus 2. So this problem here was a tough one, really seeing who remembers all the tough stuff, which if you got this right, way to go, dude. When we get these problems here, that x plus 2 cancels out and we just write what we're left over with. We'd have a 2 on the top and an x minus 2 on the bottom. So that answer would be C. Last problem here is kind of a tougher one, but you could always use Desmos to get it right. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to type it in right here. Y equals negative x squared. So that makes a sad face, a sad parabola, upside down one, minus 6x plus 3. So we can see this is a sad parabola, so that cancels out A and B, and it's shifted a little over to the left, so that answer is C. How well did we do? Oh, that was just practice. 7.5. Oh, which one did I mess up on? Maybe I have an error with my answer key. Question 32. Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's got to be a problem with my answer key. So I will fix that right now since it is summer. Did I answer that problem? Oh, I didn't click an answer. Okay, never mind. It is C. All right, so here we go. This video was supposed to be kind of quick just because I wanted you guys to get through this. And I'm just trying to see what you guys remember. So that's why there's 2 versions of this test. The first one doesn't count against you guys. It's just a score. I can see what areas we need to focus on, what areas we need to cover more on, what areas we can skip. The second version of the test is just to make sure that you're going back and changing your work. All right, so this was great. You guys have a good one. We'll see you again later. Nice. Alt Q.